sono una madre, sono italiana, sono cristiana, non me lo toglierete!
Welcome back to EU Politics. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to EU Politics for all the latest updates from Europe's political scene. Because today we're talking about one of the most talked about leaders in the world right now, Italy's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni. Her bold decisions, her fights with Brussels, and her reshaping of Italy's identity have turned her into a central figure in European politics. But where is she taking Italy, and is Europe ready for it? In just over 2 years since she took office, Giorgia Meloni has transformed Italy's political landscape. She has become a symbol of a new kind of conservative nationalism that's spreading through Europe. Whether you admire her or fear her, one thing is clear. She knows exactly how to dominate headlines and steer political conversations her way. Let's start with the most recent and perhaps most controversial issue: the European Union's plan to use frozen Russian assets to support Ukraine. While many EU leaders supported the proposal, Meloni sent a sharp reminder that international law cannot be ignored. She warned Brussels that using state assets without a clear legal framework could set a dangerous precedent. For her, it's not just about Ukraine, it's about protecting financial stability and national sovereignty. Italy, she insists, won't be bullied into accepting decisions that put its economy at risk. This stance may sound cautious, but politically, it's brilliant. Meloni positions herself as both a defender of Italy's interests and a voice of reason in a Europe divided by war fatigue and economic stress. She's not anti-Ukraine, but she's anti-recklessness, and that message resonates deeply with her voters back home. Now, let's talk about Meloni's most ambitious domestic project, the revival of the bridge over the Strait of Messina. This massive €13 billion infrastructure plan aims to connect Sicily to the Italian mainland for the first time in history. Supporters say it will create jobs, boost tourism, and finally integrate southern Italy's economy with the North. Critics, however, call it a vanity project, an engineering fantasy that's been debated for decades and could drain public funds. Meloni's government defends it fiercely, framing it as part of Italy's long-term strategy to become a logistical hub between Europe and Africa. In her words, Italy must build, not just debate. That phrase perfectly captures Meloni's leadership style. She thrives on action and confrontation. She wants to be seen as the leader who gets things done, even if that means breaking taboos or challenging Brussels. Speaking of Brussels, Meloni's relationship with the EU has been complicated from the start. She leads a party that was once deeply Eurosceptic, but since taking office, she's adopted a more pragmatic approach. Instead of calling for Italy to leave the EU, she's fighting to reshape it from within. Her argument is simple: Europe must respect national sovereignty. It must protect borders, defend traditional values, and focus on growth instead of endless bureaucracy. This vision has found allies in Hungary, Poland, and even parts of France and Spain, where right-wing parties see Meloni as a model for how to blend nationalism with political realism. Still, her balancing act is risky. The European Commission has already clashed with her government over Italy's immigration policies. In 2023, Meloni introduced a strict immigration law to crack down on illegal crossings. It included tougher asylum rules and penalties for NGOs that help migrant boats. Human rights groups called it inhumane. Brussels warned it could violate EU law, but Meloni stood firm, saying Italy can no longer carry the burden of Europe's migration crisis alone. "We are not Europe's refugee camp," she declared, in a speech that went viral across social media. Her words struck a chord with millions of Italians who feel their country has been abandoned by Brussels. Meloni's tough stance on migration also plays well with her supporters in other European countries. Leaders from Austria to Greece are echoing similar messages, demanding tighter borders and fairer distribution of migrants. Whether you agree or not, there's no denying she has shifted the European conversation on immigration, and possibly for years to come. While immigration dominates headlines, Meloni's economic policies are just as crucial. Italy's economy has been under immense pressure, with public debt hovering around 140% of GDP. To tackle this, Meloni has launched a series of tax reforms aimed at helping families and small businesses. Her goal is to stimulate growth without deepening debt. She has reduced certain taxes on the middle class, cut red tape for startups, and invested heavily in digital infrastructure. Yet economists warn that her approach may not be enough to address Italy's long-term structural problems. Critics say she's relying too heavily on symbolic gestures rather than comprehensive reform. But Meloni counters those criticisms by pointing to the numbers. Employment is slowly improving, exports are stable, and Italy remains one of Europe's top manufacturing nations. "We are bringing pride back to Italian industry," she often says. Her message is simple. Italy is back, and it's open for business. But on its own terms, foreign policy is another area where Meloni has surprised many observers. Despite her nationalist reputation, she's maintained strong ties with NATO and reaffirmed Italy's support for Ukraine. She's taken a firm stance against Russia, while also insisting on peace talks when the time is right. Her handling of relations with Washington has been particularly skillful. While other European leaders have clashed with US trade policies, Meloni has positioned Italy as a diplomatic bridge between the US and the EU. She repeatedly calls for pragmatism, not confrontation, warning that a trade war across the Atlantic would hurt European families most. At the same time, she's been expanding Italy's influence in the Mediterranean and Africa. Her Mattei plan, named after Enrico Mattei, the founder of Italian energy giant Eni, aims to make Italy a key energy and trade link between Europe and Africa. The plan focuses on investment in energy infrastructure, education, and security partnerships with African nations. This is not just foreign aid, it's a strategic attempt to turn Italy into the gateway of Europe's future energy supply and migration control. It's bold, visionary, and deeply political. Yet not everything has gone smoothly. Within Italy, Meloni faces growing resistance from opposition parties, especially over civil rights issues. Her government's conservative agenda on LGBTQ+ rights, abortion access, and gender education has sparked protests across major cities. Activists accuse her of rolling back decades of social progress. Meloni insists she's defending the traditional family and protecting children from what she calls gender ideology. The cultural clash has become one of the defining battles of her administration, and one that could determine her political survival in the years ahead. Despite these challenges, Meloni's popularity remains strong. Recent polls show her party leading comfortably, even as inflation and living costs bite. Many Italians see her as a rare politician who speaks clearly and acts decisively. They may not agree with everything she says, but they respect her conviction. In a time when European politics often feels directionless, Meloni's certainty, right or wrong, stands out. Internationally, her influence keeps growing. At recent European summits, Meloni has taken centre stage, pushing for reforms in how the EU makes decisions and distributes funds. She argues that smaller nations deserve a stronger voice and that Europe must stop being divided between North and South, rich and poor. Some EU leaders find her style confrontational. Others quietly admire her determination. Even leaders who disagree with her privately admit, Meloni gets things done. One of her latest moves has been to champion the integration of the Western Balkans into the EU. She recently told the Italian Senate that the Balkans are not Europe's border, they are Europe's future. This statement underlines her strategic vision. Italy wants to be the bridge that connects Europe's old core to its emerging periphery. It's an approach that combines geopolitics with identity, a reminder that for Meloni, leadership is as much about vision as it is about policy. But for all her achievements, the road ahead is full of risks. Italy's economy remains fragile, and tensions with Brussels could flare up again, especially as new EU budget rules come into play. Any slip in fiscal discipline could trigger penalties or political backlash. At home, rising discontent over living costs could erode her popularity, while on the international stage, shifting alliances might test her diplomatic agility. Still, if history has shown anything, it's that Giorgia Meloni thrives in adversity. Every time she's underestimated, she bounces back stronger. From being mocked as a fringe nationalist to becoming one of Europe's most powerful leaders, her story is a masterclass in political resilience. She knows how to turn criticism into strength and how to stay in the headlines without losing control of the narrative. So what comes next? Expect Meloni to double down on her themes: sovereignty, security, and identity. Expect more clashes with Brussels, but also more deals made behind closed doors.